Welcome to the Guelph Real Estate Report podcast with your host and Guelph Realtor, Ryan Waller. This podcast is designed to provide information for those buying and selling homes in the Guelph area to make the process more informative, fun, and a little less stressful. Now, on with the show.
Hey everyone, it's Ryan Waller, and thanks for tuning in to the Guelph Real Estate Report podcast. This is episode number 32. My name is Ryan Waller, and I work in Guelph Real Estate with my wife, Beth. And together, we are one of the top volume teams in the city of Guelph and within Keller Williams Canada. And our goal is to provide our clients with information, whether that is this podcast, our blog, our YouTube channel, whatever way we can to help our clients become more informed and educated on the Guelph real estate market. Because at times, like right now, like we're about to talk about, it's weird. So here we are. We're going to talk today about the mid-February Guelph real estate numbers. And there are signs that the coldest of winter weather is behind us. Things are starting to warm up a little bit. Some of the snow is starting to melt. And there is a relationship between snow on the ground and real estate sales. People don't like to go out and look at houses, drive in the snow, drive in less than ideal conditions, drive and park and get out into a slushy driveway and look at houses. And so oftentimes people will put that aside and decide that they're going to start looking again in the spring once the snow melts. And that's just one of the reasons we're going to talk about today, about why the Guelph real estate market is in the state it's in and what we can expect for the upcoming months. So just a little bit of context here. If we take a look back at January, the podcast episode I did, number 31, we talked a little bit about what happened in January in the Guelph real estate market. And really, what happened is not a lot of anything. The numbers were down. Not only one of the slowest Januaries we've seen in a very long time, it was actually one of the slowest months in totality that we have seen in a very long time, only to be slower in December 2023. And there are a number of reasons. As I mentioned, the weather, the long winter we've had has probably kept people in many cases away. I mean, we've had a number of snowstorms, icy weather, ice storms that maybe people put home searches on the sidelines as a result of. But there are a few other reasons that we believe that January was so slow. One of them also being that sellers just didn't return to the market with houses that they took off the market in December. We anticipated that we would see more activity than we did from sellers, and we didn't. As well, headlines also keep people away from buying houses. There's concerns about the economy. There's concerns about the U.S. tariffs, and all of these sorts of things impact people. And when they start to think about it, they think, well, do I really want to put myself in a position where I'm getting a new mortgage, potentially at a higher price, potentially at a higher monthly mortgage payment cost, when I'm unsure if I'm going to have a job, I need a new car. It's easier just to say, I'm going to put the home search on hold for now than to do that. And I think that's partially what we saw as well. And linked to that, there are a number of people, a record high 60% of Canadians have mortgages coming up for renewal in 2026. And so in many cases, they're going to be renewed for higher interest rates and as a result, higher monthly payments. So a lot of people are deciding, what am I going to do here? And oftentimes, as I mentioned, the easiest thing to do is let's just not do anything drastic right now. And I think it's fair to say that buying a home is a pretty drastic thing. And many people are deciding let's just hold off. And I think one of the major contributors still to low sales volume is this tug of war between sellers who are stuck on their pricing and buyers who are stuck on their pricing. And as a result, the two sides aren't coming together. We have a lot more stalemates going on in the market than we've seen in the past. I've outlined all of the details on our blog, but to put some numbers behind this, we would anticipate that we would be at least now, mid-February, at the same inventory levels we had at the beginning of December. And we're just not there. In fact, we're still about 8% less. At the beginning of December, there were 437 houses active in Guelph. We're now at 403. We're down from where we were at December 1st. And what's more interesting about that is that despite the fact that we have 403 houses on the market, the gains that we've seen, the increases in inventory that we've seen, almost all of them have come from the condo market. Very few new houses have hit the market and stayed on the market in Guelph this year. In fact, it's a net zero game. There's been nothing new. We have the same number of detached that we had over 8 weeks ago. And so as we move into mid-February, we're taking a look at the trends. Are more houses selling? Is it starting to pick up? Because that's the most common question I get. How is the market doing? Are sales increasing? What's happening out there? And really, sales are increasing. A general rule of thumb is that from January until June, there's a slow build over time, and inventory slowly increases over time. And as we hit July, it slowly decreases all the way into December. So yes, we do have more houses selling than January, but compared to prior Februaries, we're really, really below. The range per day was 8.8 at the high sales per day in February to 4.3. And here we are in 2026 at 3.7 as a trend right now. So we're below the February average over the past number of years. So it's sluggish for sure out there. And that's on top of a multi-year low for January. So things just aren't moving along. There is a variety of reasons why people are not creating a transaction. A buyer not buying, a seller not selling. Nonetheless, in February so far, we have had 56 sales through mid-February, of which 18 are in the condo and townhouse segment, and the remaining 38 are in the detached segment. And let's take a look at these a little bit deeper. In the condo segment, we have, as I mentioned, 18 sales there. $312,000 was the low price. That was Onward Willow, a condo there. And $830,000 was the high price. That was a condo in downtown Guelph. The overall average of condo so far this month is $538,000. And to give you some guardrails here, we've been trending between $525,000 all the way to $600,000 as the high. That was last summer. And so at $538,000 so far this month, we're kind of bumping up against the bottom. Homes sold at an average of just under 98% of their last posted asking price, which is on par with prior months. Nothing unusual there. Of the 18, one sold over the asking, one sold at the asking, and the remaining 16, or 88%, sold under the last listing price. And this is par for the course. This is what we're seeing almost everywhere these days. Negotiation is happening. Things are selling under the asking price. That would be indicative of low demand. And we are also in a situation of high supply. And as I mentioned, really the gains we've seen in active inventory this year so far have really been in the condo market. And we've been talking about this for months. I still am going to talk about that. I think that this segment is going to go lower in price because I don't think we've realized the true amount of inventory yet. I still think there's a lot of people that are waiting to list it for a better market. And once they start to realize that a better market is really not coming, there's not any sort of reason for the market to get better or prices to go up, they're going to list. And once all of those houses hit the market at the same time, I would anticipate lower prices. More supply and lower demand is the formula for lower prices. This is great for buyers who are looking to get into the market, especially for first-time buyers. A lot of these condos are entry-level price points, and it's finally time for these first-time buyers to be able to get in. Now, the prices are great now. Will they get better? Yeah, I think they will, depending on what the product is. If it's something that there's a lot of, a lot of 2-bedroom condos or a lot in a specific development. You could get a great price now, but you might get something better later, something more unique. We are at the best price we've seen in a while for those, and who knows whether it's going to stay like that or not, but it's a good time if you're a buyer in the condo segment. With 18 sales in 15 days, we are averaging just over 1 sale per day, which is a bump up. We'll be watching that. It's a bump up from what we've seen. In the past number of months, we've always seen less than 1 sale per day on average. So to go over, that's encouraging news that things are starting to loosen up a little bit there, and maybe sellers are accepting more of the market pricing. Maybe buyers are starting to feel like they might be at a bottom. I'm not sure, but a little more activity. The average here is, we also note here that 42% of the listings in the condo segment are still vacant, as in it's for sale, but no one actively lives there. So someone is paying all the bills, but there is no one in the house. You can make an appointment on last minute notice. So this number is interesting to us because there must be a reason why no one lives there and is paying the bills. And I suspect it's because they're looking for a certain price and they aren't getting it. So they're holding out in hopes that they will find a buyer or an offer even in some cases. And until they accept the market pricing, they are going to stay on the market. And once they come down to the price that the market is willing to pay, they'll find a buyer, of course. Moving over to the detached segment, we had 38 sales here, and $345,000 was the low price. This was actually a vacant lot. It was listed twice. It was listed both as a vacant lot and as a detached home. So we removed the duplicate listing, but it was the low price. Outside of this vacant lot, the lowest existing home was $645,000. So this number did drag the average down, but nonetheless, it's still valid. It is a valid sale, and so that is the low. The high is $1,335,000. That was in East Guelph, and the overall average was $799,000 in this segment. We've been bumping around in this segment between $775 as the low, all the way up to about $900 last summer. So, like the condo segment, we're bumping up against the bottom here at $799,000. It's only 2 weeks of data, so it's not worth hanging your hat on, but it is worth noting that that's where we're at. Total homes here sold at an average of 98% of the last listed asking price, meaning there is still some negotiation to happen, but nothing unusual there. 8 of the 38 homes here sold over the asking price, and another 5 sold at the asking price. The remaining 25 or 66% sold under the asking price. So this is sort of the note I'm taking away from this update, is that 1/3, 33% of the listings that have sold in February sold at or above the asking, which is an indication to me, based on what I'm seeing and what our clients are telling us, that there's not a lot of active listings out there that buyers are jumping on. They're waiting for something. It hasn't hit the market yet, and when it does, buyers are active. And I took a look at, of these 13 listings that sold at or above the asking, how many of them were listed and sold in February? As in, a buyer was waiting for something, it hit the market, they jumped on it, and it was 62%. So there are buyers out there, they're waiting for the right inventory to come along. And as I mentioned on the detached segment, we really have had a net 0 increase in listings so far this year. And I don't really know what to say. If you have a bungalow in some of those older neighborhoods, those are the things that are really moving right now. It's worth considering, if you are considering selling, doing it sooner rather than later, because you always want to sell a house when there is no one else like you out there. And right now there is nothing out there, and there are very few of these. So keep that in mind. The $1 million segment, we watch it as well. It is the 15 to 20% of sales historically. That range is what we look for. If it's less than that range, we watch it closely. We're currently at 11. And I think that based on what we've seen, we're probably starting to move towards, instead of 15 to 20% of the sales being above $1 million, it's probably going to be closer to 10 to 15%. At 11 so far for this month. We'll see by the end of the month where it ends up, but it doesn't seem to me like we're going to cross 15 to 20% at or above $1 million. The current market sales velocity and the current inventory levels put us in a balanced market with 4.3 months of inventory. For context, if you have less than 2 months, it's a seller's market. 2 to 6 is a balanced market, and 6+ is a buyer's market. And after this month, after February comes in at the low numbers, we take December, January, and February numbers, all which were very low, and those become the average of the last 3 months. And then you are moving into a season where inventory starts to rise. So we're going to have low sales and more volume, and I anticipate that we're going to very, very quickly move towards a buyer's market with 5 or even 6 months inventory. So I would anticipate this would mean that the hope of having higher prices for sellers in the spring market is going to be muted. There's not going to be a lot of that at all, and it will be a lot more balanced and a lot more negotiation going on. Hope this helps. I'll be back at the end of the month with a full summary for February and year-to-date numbers. If you have any questions in the meantime, you can always find us at bethandryan.ca.